Time now for Trivia Tracks with yours truly, Price Robertson. Sponsored by Beth Smith and Edward Jones and ProMed Ambulance Services. During the 1950s and 60s, screenwriter Leonard Heideman, later known as Laurence Heath, grinded out material for such TV shows as Highway Patrol, Naked City, Mannix, Ben Casey, and Bonanza, on which he was a story consultant in the latter half of the first season. But his personal life would take a tragic turn. Born on February 19, 1928, Heideman was raised in the Bronx and attended college at Yale. During a stint in the Air Force, he met fellow TV writer John Furia Jr. The two worked together in the Air Force's Burbank-based 1354th Video Production Squadron, which produced training films. Following his discharge, Heideman partnered with another young writer, a fellow Yalee named Emmett Murphy. Together, they landed a number of television assignments. In 1955, Heideman married Dolores Hearn, known as Dorrit. The couple would have two boys. In addition to Bonanza, he was also head writer for two short-lived series, Flight and 21 Beacon Street, both for producer Al Simon. Even while he was turning out one TV script after another, Heideman experienced problems with the family's finances. But worse news was yet to come. In the summer of 1962, his father Charles died. The two had been close, and now Leonard had no intermediary in his tempestuous relationship with his domineering mother Leah. Both his own parents and his wife's had followed them to Los Angeles after Leonard and Dolores were married, and at times the Heidemans felt smothered by the omnipresence of their in-laws. By 1963, Heideman had been experiencing bizarre nightmares, suffering pain and torment. Nothing could prevent them. Only when Dolores ran a hot bath and eased her husband gently into the scalding water, talking soothingly into his ear. Only then would he be able to get back into bed and enjoy something resembling a deep sleep. But the stress, the bad dreams, and the lack of sleep were affecting Heideman's work. He was then asked to write a script for the lawyer series Sam Benedict, and Heideman completed a rewrite of one script for the series and the story outline for what would be his first original teleplay for the series. But he just couldn't finish. With all the other pressures mounting, Heideman found himself crippled by writer's block and missed deadlines. Finally, producer William Frug gave the script to another young writer, Ed Waters, to finish. When the finished segment aired on January 26, 1963, Waters' name preceded Heideman's in the credits, in this case the opening act following the main title, which proved humiliating. In the early morning hours of February 23, 1963, Leonard Heideman killed his wife with an assortment of weapons, a long double-handled pair of kitchen shears, a carving knife, and a steak knife. His son Ricky phoned police. Once officers arrived, they saw a naked Heideman soaked in blood. His behavior had not been extremely violent before his wife's murder, according to film historian and researcher Stephen Bowie, and I quote, Dolores' death was all too real, but for a movie writer, it felt like a scene from the screen. After his arraignment in municipal court, a judge ordered him held without bail. Heideman spent the next 5 months in a prison cell. During the next 7 weeks, 3 psychiatrists examined Heideman, and all agreed that the writer was legally insane. Heideman then spent 14 months in a maximum security facility for the criminally insane. In the summer of 1964, Leonard Heideman was released. He reemerged in 1966 under a new name, Laurence Heath, which he soon changed legally. Though some of Heath's colleagues assumed that his new name was reference to Emily Bronte, as Laurence Olivier had portrayed Heathcliff in the 1939 film adaptation of Bronte's Wuthering Heights, this was apparently not the case. Laurence Heath began writing scripts for Mission Impossible, where he was soon promoted to story editor and later producer. He continued to write for other shows like Hawaii Five-0, Lancer, Code Red, Murder, She Wrote, Dynasty, and Most Wanted, which he also created, plus several movies and made-for-TV movies. He also remarried to Carolyn Zimmer in 1967. The couple divorced in 1974. 1 year later, the 47-year-old writer married for a third and final time to 24-year-old Leanna Johnson. He would have 3 more children from his 2 subsequent marriages. By the 1990s, Laurence Heath's TV work had dried up. The tragedies that occurred years before still haunted him. Earlier in the decade, he was hospitalized after a second breakdown. Those around him knew he wasn't a warm, engaging individual. After his third marriage failed, he had begun dating, but his health was deteriorating. On January 9, 2007, Laurence Heath, aged 78, hanged himself. His daughter Elizabeth later said, I don't think he ever forgave himself. I think he was just basically tortured. He was always reinventing himself. I think he always sort of thought that he could just give it another shot and do it even better this time. Till next time, I'm Price Robertson. Amazed by today's trivia? Then join me for Trivia Tracks weekdays at 6:45 on Everybody's Country Y95.